Jerry Kohut. I'm the Community Liaison for Cathedral Village.
Jerry what?
Kohut.
Koha?
Kohut.
Kohut.
Yes.
Okay.
K-O-H-U-T.
Kohut. Okay.
And I really enjoy coming to enjoy meeting all of you and being part of this program today. I work at Cathedral Village, and it is a life care community, and I'm their person that goes out and provides education for older adults, and that's why I am here today. I am a registered nurse, and I graduated from Thomas Jefferson University, and Saturday I attended a class reunion. So out of my class, there were 4 of us that attended. They generally do it for the whole school. So at least the 4 of us are still alive and kicking. So that's my what I did on Saturday. But I so enjoy presenting these programs. And Mary Angelo and I worked together to select something that we think that you would really be interested in hearing about. So today I'm doing something on successful aging, and I'll talk about that. But again, I've told you who I am. Why don't we go around the room and just say your name and anything else you'd like to add, or just your name, which would be great. Would you
I'm
like
Bonnie.
Bonnie?
Sylvia Clark.
Sylvia Clark?
Clark, yes.
Peggy McGeehan.
Debbie McCann?
No, Peggy McGeehan.
Peggy.
McGeehan. You didn't want last name, sorry.
That's okay.
Sue Atkinson.
Harriet Stanton. Peggy Freeman.
Tom Atkinson.
Helena Tucker. Susan Zimmerman.
Irene Serpenti, and I find it overwhelmingly, the thought of moving is just completely overwhelming.
Okay, she made a statement. Well, it's really good to be here. We won't remember names, but at least you know that you are a person coming to this program today, and I do hope that you enjoy it. I do this all over the neighborhoods of the Philadelphia area, and a lot of people are so interested in aging and how to age well. So this one is aging successfully, and I think you're going to enjoy it. I absolutely was part of a group of people from Presbyterian Senior Living, where I am employed, that about 15 years ago, we really wanted to find out what is the best thing that we could provide in our nursing centers. We were doing the same old, same old. I wasn't really being negative about that, but we just wanted something a little bit different for the residents. So I was on the task force, and I was sent to Hartford, Connecticut, and there were 2 wonderful communities there that I was going to talk to, investigate, and share mutual information. And they wanted me to come. So I did. And I was like amazed at what I saw. I saw people, residents, that were everywhere, that were doing everything. I don't know if you walk into, if you're visiting anyone, and you walk into the front door, and it's oftentimes that front area is kind of nice, pretty, attractive, but there's not a lot of people there. Well, when I went there, I thought, these people, they're everywhere, but also they do everything. They help the community grow. They had people that worked in a little bistro for people to come in anytime they wanted to come in. They were working in the mail room. When I say working, they were volunteering in these special places because they thought, well, we're here and we want to live well, but how can you do that on a daily basis if you stay in your apartment? And you might, if it's an area that has meal service, that you might go down for dinner if you so choose. But I mean, that's it. And then they have little activities, but you all know that activities, sometimes you don't really get that enthralled about it. I am so happy that you are all here as an activity, because you're going to learn a little something. But, so when I came back from visiting both, I told my boss who sent me there, I said, you wouldn't believe it. He said, well, what was it? He said, there were people everywhere doing everything. I didn't see staff. Where are the staff? Well, we had to laugh about that just a little bit. And then we decided to really explore what successful living is all about. And that's what this program is. But that's how that started. And from that experience with me, I really was a person that said, wow, this is what we should have in all of our communities. Because as we age, sometimes you get a little bit, it's a little slow about doing things, or get your pajamas on, at night and in the morning, and it's a little bit of rain, and you say, oh, I don't want to go out in the rain. So successful aging is how you age in your home and things that you want to do to make your life better. That's all this is about. So we're going to have the talk about successful aging. Successful aging empowers seniors to focus on their physical, social, intellectual, and spiritual growth. If not, then who? So if you're not focusing on these 4 things, then who is going to help you? Who is going to share things with you that will make your life better? Moving forward to successful aging. The ways seniors live affect their lives and longevity in a positive or a negative manner. Well, that's very obviously. The way you live, sometimes you have a good day and you're real positive. Sometimes you don't, so it's a little bit of a negative. Are genes and heredity most important for our golden years? So if you have really good genes and you have parents and grandparents that lived a very long and healthy life, that's good for you because those genes trickle down. Healthy or good habits promote successful aging. That's what you have to, you all promote how well you age. Good old-fashioned clean living is the best potion. History lesson. Well, the Social Security Act was enabled in 1935 by President Franklin Delano Roosevelt. That's very significant because people needed financial help. After the Depression, they said, what are we going to do for our people? There was no plan for how people would function in later years. None. You know why? People weren't living long. So they really didn't think after age 60 you had to worry about anybody because the length of time that they were on this earth was very limited as compared to today. The first check in 1940 was for $22.45 a month. Now, isn't that significant? That's what people had to live on.
Gosh.
Aging statistics. The turn of the century, 3% of the population was over the age of 65. 3%. That's significant. Today, more than 18% are over the age of 65. So you see how we have aged well in our country. Men, more than 70% live beyond retirement age of 65. Men live to 76.5 years and women to 81.2. So we have one man, I'm so sorry to say that, you may not, who will outlive the other, we don't know.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Today, cause of death is heart disease, cancer, chronic respiratory diseases, and Alzheimer's disease. Did you have a question about something?
No, I just was saying that I don't know why men age faster than women.
Well, there's a lot of discussion about that. The question was, why do men age faster than women do? I think with women, you on average, you feel you're a little bit more engaging. You are a little bit more, now I'm not being sexist, but this is what research says. You're a little bit more engaging, you will take risks, you will enjoy yourself, you plan your days. Men are sort of, I know, my husband is like, he schedules things like I would never schedule things. He's very organized and just does his thing. But there's a little difference between men and women, and that is why you see the difference in the age. Tell me if there's something that we can do better. So the MacArthur Foundation study. In 1984, a new study of gerontology was researched as the result of unprecedented aging of America. We never thought people were going to age. We just thought that, when that 60, 62 years age, you would die, because that's what people did then. So they wanted to find out what happens, why are people living longer? They conducted research to improve older Americans' both physical and mental abilities. Conducted research study over 1,000 older adults, dedicated $10 million to the project. Now, and that's amazing. 1984, they dedicated $10 million to this project because we really wanted to find out why are people living longer and what can we do to enhance that. Life course is divided into quarters. The first quarter is maturation and education. The second quarter, young adulthood and careers. So in the second quarter, that's what you're doing. The third quarter, around age 55, earnings are good, children now adults, you can relax a little bit. They go off, they get married or partner with somebody and they're living their lives. The fourth quarter, the activity reduces because by that time you're living well, you might be in an apartment or a residential community and things are status quo. You're okay, you've managed to live a good life and you're just doing the daily activities that keep you continuing to live well. Breaking down the myth of aging. Okay, everybody thinks old is old. I have some really funny ones, but these are the ones that are you could put in black and white.
Old to be sick.
To be old is to be sick. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. You've heard that before. The horse is out of the barn. The secret of successful aging is to choose your parents wisely. Wouldn't that be good?
How can you do that?
Well, that's the problem. The lights may be out, the lights may be on, but the voltage is low.
Yeah.
And the last one, the elderly do not pull their own weight. Well, these are just little things that people say, and they're not good things, but that's little things to say. They are myths, and they're not true. Our genes. You cannot change your genes, so the key is to focus and avoid disability and sickness, and that's what this is all about. You are what your genes are. But if you have in your gene something that is saying that some of the genetics are saying that many members of your family in the gene level are not living longer. So you have to figure out, that's something I really have to work on. Find out why Aunt Martha and Aunt Molly didn't live to like 70. What happened to them? Why did they get sick? And what did they have? So you want to maintain high mental and physical function. You all do these things because number one, mental, you're all here learning something new or just recapping something that you already knew. And that is so important to maintain that. Do crossword puzzles. Anything that gets brain cells moving is what you have to do. And also physical function. Engage actively in life. You know, you can watch people doing things, and that's okay if you're watching people doing things, but you want to engage in that life. Examples of genetic diseases that can shorten life: cancer, familial high cholesterol, heart disease, hypertension, rheumatoid arthritis, a stroke, CVA, or a stroke. So these are things that may be genetic. If in your family you know that someone has had a stroke, it might be because of high blood pressure. So that might be a genetic factor that you want to be aware of so you can help yourself not having that problem. Successful aging. We talked about the MacArthur Foundation demonstrated that heredity is less important than environment. The ability to maintain three key characteristics are low risk of disease. We don't want to get disease, and we have to try to figure out how and why and what we can do about it. High mental functioning. Do those crossword puzzles every day, or do a crossword puzzle once a week. It gets the brain cells moving. And actively engage with life, and that is so important. I teach a course on socialization, and I call it Socialization, the Best Vitamin. And I do that because people need people. I love that Barbra Streisand. I just love Barbra Streisand. And her best record was people who need people are the luckiest people in the world. Because what does that do? You're connecting with life outside of your life. So it is so important to actively engage in life. Low risk of disease. This is a challenge for older adults. We go to the doctor as a patient rather than taking responsibility of our own health. So you go to the doctor maybe every 6 months, whatever you need to do, you do. Every 6 months, annually, or you might have some issues that you have to go once a month. And, they are going to look at, well, there's a slight increase in blood pressure. Blood sugar increase, no, that's going okay. Decrease in your lung capacity. These are the things that they look for in older adults.
Loss of bone density.
What is the immune function and loss of bone density? All of these things are so important because if your blood pressure is high, you have to take medicine for it. Blood sugar is high, you have to take medicine for it. So you have to make sure that you are taking care of yourselves, and you have to be the person that is sort of pushing that conversation when you go to the doctors. Other concerns. Fears from older adults about nursing home placement. Well, some people have talked about that already. I'm not going there. I've heard all these crazy things about the people that work there. But nursing home placement is a fear because after, you might be in a house or an apartment and you start thinking, well, I really can't take care of the house or apartment myself anymore. My family, they have moved, and that's very typical. Families used to stay together in a neighborhood, and that was so nice because you were all together. If you needed something, you could just run to Barbie's house, and she's going to help you with whatever that you might need. Now, as older adults, your children might have moved to Ohio because there was a job for their husband, and so they moved to Ohio. Some people retire and they go to Florida. So you don't have that connection as you used to years before. Another concern is Alzheimer's disease. We know what causes Alzheimer's disease, but people are fearful of that because, perhaps you visit someone who has Alzheimer's disease and you see what happens to that person. They are not the person that you knew or loved. They can't communicate with you, things are sad, and the whole situation with Alzheimer's disease, there is no cure. They have just come up with a new, I would say every 6 months, they're trying to come up with a new pill that will help. I'm sorry, I should have gotten water. The MacArthur Foundation. Yes.
You said we know what causes Alzheimer's. What causes Alzheimer's?
When you have Alzheimer's disease, what causes it? The body, the brain, doesn't function anymore because there are lack of cells, brain cells, that are diminished with Alzheimer's disease. So if you see a brain in a photo, you're going to see a normal brain. You'll see all these brain cells there looking very healthy. In a brain with Alzheimer's disease, you're going to see black areas where the nerves are not connecting. So it's lack of connection to the nerves that causes a person to, one, not be able to talk, not be able to walk, and are confused. So it's that lack of connectivity in the brain that actually causes Alzheimer's. Now, just recently, they have come up with another clinical trial, and they need about 1,000 people to try these. To try this, if this works, and they would be people, part of the group have Alzheimer's, the other part don't, but they have familiar connections with Alzheimer's. So they're starting a new clinical trial. But what happens with Alzheimer's disease and clinical trials, they don't get enough people to finish the clinical trial. Some of these clinical trials can last for 2, 3, 4, or 5 years to get the information that they need. But people with Alzheimer's disease, generally they can die within 6 years. So you see those clinical trials aren't working, but they keep on trying to find out what is causing the disease, but more importantly, how to cure it. So they don't have that cure yet. Dr. Alois Alzheimer's started in 1902, named Alzheimer's disease as a neurological disease. So look at that, 1902 to 2022, and we still do not have a cure for that disease.
Gosh.
So, the MacArthur Foundation, keep your interest in outer things, away from your inside, instead of at your home, look for outer things. Keep more interest than you have time for. It's really great to be so busy you couldn't fit something in, and that's a good thing. Being part of an active network. Well, I would say describe millennials. Well, we don't really want to describe millennials because they could care less about other people. I mean, I'm not saying that that's what research says. So, but we have to keep that at network. And I always say, if I told you I went to my class reunion, only three or four of us were there, and we haven't kept in touch with other people. And we said, we are not good people. But again, our class is old, and so many of them, I think, have died. But you have to make that effort to keep in touch with people. The MacArthur Foundation, education affects status. So people that are well-educated sort of can move up the realm in your status in the community. Your place of residence is important. These are all things that this foundation that was giving money to say, why are these things happening to people? It is place of residence, leisure activities. What kind of leisure activities do people take? So they were sending questionnaires to these people that said, yes, I'll participate in this, to find out more about what causes people to not do well, or what makes people really become active. Is it genes? We talked about genes first. Is it people around you? So this foundation was really important and wanted to find out how we can make our people healthier and more active. Because they found out when they did the initial studies, we weren't. Change is frightening.
It is.
Right. Fear may prevent creativity. You don't want to do anything because you're afraid of meeting somebody. You're afraid of, well, right now, a lot of things happen because, the Philadelphia area, is just terrible. Every night there's somebody else that was killed, or these gangs. It's just so terrible. But anyway, fear may prevent creativity. And, if you don't want to go out at night, that may say, oh, I'm just going to stay in and watch television. Well, maybe if you were doing something else, you would be more creative with your life.
Yeah.
This I love. Coach John Wooden spoke to his basketball players to help them make change happen. He was a very, very wonderful coach. And what he said, don't look for the big, quick improvement. Seek the small improvement one day at a time. That's the one way change happens. And when it happens, it lasts. So think about something that you want to do. You don't want quick improvement, because guess what? That's not going to last. You're going to do something about it. I'm going to walk every day at 6 a.m. every day, 5 days a week. Well, you're not going to get up at 6 a.m. and you're not going to do it 5 days a week. So whatever you do, make them conscientious steps forward, that you're able to really do something for yourself. Think about why you want to change. First of all, you want to change. We're talking about successful aging. You want to change, and you take small steps. Think why you want to change. Well, it could be that you don't socialize that much, and you want to take some small steps. Think why you want to change, because I should. I know I should do better, and I want to do better. So maybe you're going to join a club. We'll see. You take small steps to begin the change and achieve your goal. Then add another step. If we want to grow, we must change. Betty Davis once said, old age is no place for sissies. And I say that because you have to have a plan. And when we talk about a plan, you're thinking, well, I heard Jerry Cohen talking about successful aging and a plan. Well, you can't do anything without a plan. And if you want to age and age well, you have to have a plan. A lot of people really start thinking about where they're living. Should they sell their house? Should they stay in their house? Should they keep an apartment? or should they go into another type of an environment? Perhaps long-term care, life care, whatever it is. This is when people start thinking about it. If your children or family are no longer living close by, it may be, I really think I should do something. But you really want to do something with thought and really being honest with yourself. If you go into a life care community, number one, you go and you think, and you start looking around, I can't afford these communities. Well, continue the search. There are all kinds of communities out there if you choose to have that life. But you also have to say, am I going to be safe at home? These things are questions you ask yourself as older adults. Not that you have to make any moves, but it's good to think forward. Take the smallest steps to begin the change and achieve your goal. Then you add another step, and then another step. If we want to grow, we must change. I said that already about Betty Davis, and I really love that statement. Examples. As I mentioned, I visited 2 life care communities in Connecticut. What did I observe? People all around. A lot of places you walk into an area and there's nobody there but the receptionist. There were people everywhere. And that's why they sent me. They wanted to find out how can we do what we're trying to do successfully. Let's look around and see what other people are doing. They were walking and jogging and exercising, swimming, working. A lot of the places will have members of their community work for like whatever the minimum wage is or whatever, and they do it, and they want to do it because they're safe in the environment, and they like that little extra money. Yoga. Now, I have a story about yoga. So, and the story is really funny. So not funny, but I hope you enjoyed it, because there was a person, and I knew this whole story. There was a person that lived in New York City, and she lived by herself. She had a daughter and children that lived really close to her. So it was great. She was living in an apartment herself, and every day faithfully, she did yoga. Every day. She loved it, loved it, loved it. There wasn't another thing that she could do that she loved more. So every morning, before coffee, she'd go out to a yoga class, come back, and she felt like she started her day. So this was just wonderful. She loved her apartment. She felt safe. Everything was so good. But then her daughter had to move, and she moved to Delaware. And she said, Mom, you have to come. I can't have you in New York City, and we're in Delaware. You have to move. She said, I don't want to move. I love, love, love where I'm living. I have friends. Well, push comes to shove. Oh, the daughter really convinced her she should move to Delaware. And she said, well, I don't want to, but I understand. You are concerned for me living alone. There's nobody else in this New York City area that I could really turn to as I would turn to you as my daughter. So she convinced her to move to Delaware. And it wasn't easy because she didn't want to leave. So she goes to Delaware, and it was Dover, Delaware. And I know this because we had a community in Dover, Delaware. So she came, and her daughter helped her unpack, and she wanted to be in a community. She did not want to live with her daughter, and so they chose going to this community. So she moved in, and she was just miserable. She was just miserable. She didn't want to do it. So the first night, she goes to dinner, and they seated her with 3 other ladies. And the ladies are chit-chatting away, and she's not saying a word because she doesn't even want to be there. So all of a sudden, one of the ladies said, well, tell us about, what do you like to do? And she said, well, I can't do it here. And no, well, what do you like to do? And she said, I always did yoga every day. That was like my day. That started my day. There's nothing here like that. And I'm just like a fish out of water. I don't know what to do, because that was like her coffee every morning. So these ladies said, is that why you're so grumpy? And you could imagine 3 ladies must have talked about her, not in front of her, and said, we have to do something. She looks so sad. So they said, well, why didn't you say something? We're going to go to the activity director tomorrow, and we're going to talk to you about yoga, a yoga class. Would you do that? Of course we will. So they go to the activity director, and she said, well, we don't have like a room for yoga. And so then the one woman said, well, you have a dance studio that nobody uses? So, fine, why don't we tell her you can do yoga every day in this dance studio? Well, the three ladies were so happy. Dinner comes and says, we have a studio for you to do your yoga. And she said, what? You did that for me? And she said, yes. So next day, she's in her yoga outfit. She goes to that dance studio with mirrors everywhere. She did yoga. She felt like herself again. Remember, she did it every day for years and years. So she comes to dinner and she thanks the people. So then they said, well, can you teach me yoga? I've never done yoga before. So now there's 3 people, plus her, doing yoga in front of this wonderful mirror. So she started yoga classes. It was like 10, 12, 20 people were at her class. Well, in Dover, the activity director wrote a little synopsis about this yoga class and how popular it was with the residents. For some strange reason, New York City picked that little article up. Who knows who did it? But all of a sudden, they get a phone call and they want to know, we read this about this woman who's like 82 years old teaching yoga. Would she like to come to New York City on NBC? And we're going to interview her and we're going to have her do a yoga class. Well, now this is really unbelievable. So her daughter, the activity director, and she went up to New York City. So she goes to New York City, and the next day, and they had a wonderful dinner. They treated her to a wonderful hotel. The next day, she's on NBC teaching a yoga class. Well, it was so funny because she was teaching it, and then the host of the NBC News couldn't even reach the toes because he was so out of shape. Well, that was, if you think about life, isn't that amazing? Well, obviously, she became a star in Dover, Delaware. She loves it, and she had these classes every day. So I guess the story goes, if you want to do something, do it. And if you don't like something, talk about it. Because this is your life. This is your life. This is your aging. You're smart. You know what you want. Speak out. But I love that story because out of absolutely nothing, one little comment that somebody said, all of a sudden she's on NBC. And she was really good, too. You'd think she'd be a little bit nervous, and she wasn't. Think about what you can do. What is the simplest thing you can do to keep moving? Get up during commercial breaks and move. Have you ever tried that? I mean, well, now there are commercial breaks every 10 minutes. Before, you could wait, 30 minutes, but do something to get you moving. What can you do in 5 minutes each day to become more positive? Plan your day. That's always good. You don't have to have a to-do list. It could just be mental. Today, I'm going to listen to this person speak about successful aging. That's planning your day. Call a friend. The telephone is just something. Everything is text messaging or the internet. But just pick up that phone and call somebody you haven't heard from for a while. That makes that person feel good, and you've reconnected. Strategies to make friends. Take senior-oriented continuing education classes at a college, junior college or college. Because as I keep on saying this, but it's a little bit harder to get new friends because, it just is. You just don't bounce, like when you were younger, you could have, if you had children, you just sort of became friends of the mother. So the two mothers got together for coffee or tea. It was easier, but as we age, it's less convenient, let's put it that way. So you have to work at it a little bit. So taking a class is wonderful, whatever the class might be. Volunteer at a school, museum, hospital, or animal shelter. Volunteers get so much, they actually get so much more than they're giving, and that's what the volunteer community always says. I love doing what I'm doing, but I do it because I love it and it makes me feel good. But they don't recognize what a good thing that they're doing for whatever community they're working on. Part-time job, few hours a week, I think that's wonderful. Look, and they are looking for people. They're looking Well, you know the job scene. I mean, you could probably get a job and just call somebody and they'll say, can you start tomorrow? So part-time job, exercise or take classes at a fitness center. That is so good because we need to exercise. We just can't just sit, and because that's not good for your body. Check out local senior centers. I love this one. Have a potluck at your home. Tell everyone to bring a friend. I'm giving you these tips because when you have a potluck and you're bringing a friend, you're expanding your social network. And that's really helpful because, you know, it helps to be around people. Resilience is key to successful aging. You do all that you can do to avoid being bent, stretched, or dented. Resilience is being tough. Take life and run with it.
That's what Sam does.
The MacArthur Foundation started the movement in the early 1980s. People were doing nothing. They weren't exercising, they reached that 62 years, 65 years, and they sort of just waited for something to happen. So that started it. People who change live in the moment. They have a tendency not to worry, refuse to go back, or slide into fear. My husband says, don't buy green bananas. I just thought I would add that. That's a laughter, and you can laugh. So the MacArthur Foundation in the 80s had the money to create this new world of ours because we didn't have people that lived longer. And I can remember going to an airport and when I was learning more about this, and everything, every magazine, you know, they have these magazine racks, they still do, and everything in the magazine rack, it was just all about how to stay young. Well, how to stay young doesn't really fit the category that we're talking about. How are you successfully aging? You don't care about staying young. That comes if you socialize, you go out with friends or family, but it's just the fact that you have to work at it. And if you don't work at these things, you're going to be not socializing, you're not going to be as active, you may not even go to, a lot of people, so not forget, but they don't like going to the doctors. Well, who does like to go to the doctors? But you must keep up your annual checkups. You must do these things for yourself. It keeps you healthy, it keeps you in target. Older adults now. They're more abundant, they're healthier, they're active and engaged, seeking new roles in politics and national policy making. Well, they are seeking new roles in politics because people like older adults because they think, well, they've been around, they know what's happening in the world. So a lot of people do seek politics. Resist ageism of any kind and any stereotyping. You don't want to have that feeling that, well, this is what's happening, this is my age, I'm just going to sit back and let things happen. You don't want to do that. You want to push yourself. To quote Norman Cousins, death is not the greatest loss in life. The greatest loss is what dies inside us while we live. So that's something to take with you also because you want to motivate yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Questions. So my reference was Successful Aging by John Rowe and Robert Kahn. And I love this one, Live Long, Die Short by Roger Landry. So do you have any questions that I can address? Your handouts do have the Successful Aging and Live Long, Die Short books on them too. Any questions that I could answer or that something that I said may motivate you to really think about what you're doing now in this life as an older adult. And I don't want you to leave here thinking, wow, an older adult. Well, we all age. I mean, I know I'm an older adult. I know what birthday I'm having next year, and that's not a fun birthday, but anyway. But you have to stay active and stay resilient. Reach out to people. That's what successful aging is all about. And even if you reach out, what did I say? One person is a reach out. And letter writing. We don't write letters. Well, the mail, number one, the stamps are atrocious. Most people say, I'm just going to send a text message. But just think how nice it is if you do get a letter or even a card. I have these note cards, I've always had them. Every time we've moved to a new house, we get these note cards made of the new house. And it has our address on it. So we've moved 13 times. So I always call this fellow that does the cards, oh no, I'm only going to make you 50 cards at a time. But anyway, I always send a little, it's small, so I can just say a little something, maybe how you doing, we have to get together, or I hope your kids, or something like that. I do that because it helps me. I feel good about that. I stick that little expensive, forever stamp on it, and I know when that person receives it, they're going to, wow, I got a card. That's number one. Most of it is junk mail now. I got a card. They open it, see my house, see my name, and it makes them feel good. I know it does, because I felt good about sending it. So think of little things that make you feel good about yourself. That's what successful aging is all about. You need to feel good. You need to feel good because you did something for yourself. Coming to this is really good because hopefully you learned a little something, the handout's a little something. But I just want to say, if you have any questions, I am here to answer them. Or anything about Cathedral Village.
Well, I'll ask a question.
Yes?
I'd like to hear what other people in the room do for their activities.
Okay.
What kind of things, are around that, somebody else like myself might not have heard of.
Okay. There's,
I'm a teacher,
uh-huh.
and presently I'm a substitute teacher. And it's just right, if you don't feel like, doing 5 days a week, do plan ahead, of course, and think I'll do this as needed, and it usually works out fine. You could do 3 or 4 days a week, you could skip 2 weeks and do a day. I find that really rewarding. I teach grade school, I teach classes pre-K through 8.
Wow.
Honors math, which I was never real good at. I liked it.
But you learned how to be good at it, right?
I had to.
We see that's really good. You found something that is part-time and you enjoy doing it.
Yeah.
And I think that really is good. But I think any kind of volunteer work, now you're volunteering,
No.
you get paid, okay. Any kind of volunteer work is wonderful because they say you get more than you actually receive. And there's just go online, volunteers, and it is just a wonderful thing. And pick what you would like to volunteer doing. Because if you pick something that is really foreign to you, it might be a good experience, but it might be something that you don't like. So I would start small. Yes.
I come here for 2 exercise classes,
Uh-huh.
Tuesday and Friday. I'm coming to this. A few other sessions that they're having, I've selected. And up until COVID happened, I was volunteering at Chestnut Hill Hospital next door 3 days a week.
Wow.
And that was in 3 different sections of the hospital. And that was really fulfilling and met a lot of nice people. A lot of crazy things happen and everything. And my thing about volunteering is, I told them, I spent 35 years when it snowed, I had to go to work. I said volunteering, I told them, if it's snowing, it's bad weather, I'll see you then. You come, you're a volunteer, it's your time. I
Right.
just made sure that they knew ahead of time.
Sure.
And it was fun. It did feed the soul. To me, it was feeding the soul.
That is wonderful. Look like that, you feel good about it. And that's what successful aging is all about. Feeling good about what you're doing. And that's why when I went to those communities in Connecticut, I knew the people were happy. It wasn't they were saying, oh, I'm so happy to live here. You could just tell because they were engaged. They weren't sitting in their rooms. And that's very easy to do. You're paying for your room, you might as well enjoy it. But those little steps that you take will make you feel good about yourself and keep you happy. Longevity too. Yes?
I think this is a very good workshop. I think it is a very good beginning workshop because what I'm finding, and I go to a lot of different workshops, what I'm finding is that there are so many individual questions that all seniors have, but everybody's in their own little bubble.
Yeah.
And the more you get together in a round table and you talk, it's helpful. Like people have given suggestions to what they do, but maybe I don't volunteer. Maybe I don't wanna work part-time. Maybe I wanna get up and get up. So the more voices you have,
Right.
it helps to let people get a sense of what they can do, because this aging thing is so individual and it's so complex
It
that
is.
it takes a village to figure this stuff out. And if you were mobile, and if you were on the go, and then as you've aged, you've gotten some disability, or you've just gotten stiff and old,
Right,
you
right,
know?
right.
And you go, well, I can't do this. But the more you talk to people, you find out, oh, well, you were stiff and old, what happened to you? Well, I did such and such and such. And the reason I say that is because I've always exercised, always been in really good shape, which I thought was gonna be really good for getting older, because that's what they tell you. The more you exercise, the better your body is. It's not necessarily so. And to me, that was very difficult. And I kept talking to everybody. I said, do you hurt? Are you stiff? Is it? And the more people I talk to, they go, yeah. I go, well, what are you doing for it? They go, well, I do such and such and such and such. And then the light bulb went off. I'm not doing what I used to do, so my body is not working the way it used to work. But on a smaller scale, I can start to do things to help. You know, it has to a degree.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm never going to do what I did. But that one little conversation that I had with a lot of different people helped to reframe the way I thought about this particular age and as I'm moving forward.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot. This aging process
Yeah.
is not for the individual, it's for to have these constant conversations
Right.
with different people. So all that to say is that maybe you need to continue.
Yes.
Just
Well, you know,
expanding
while
that.
you were saying that, I wonder if a round table, or like, instead of a speaker,
Yes,
maybe a round table that we could do
with a moderator.
Yeah. and see what, do you think you'd be interested in something like that?
Yes.
Picking a topic? Like I had successful aging, maybe the topic could be, well, we'll just think of something that, living arrangements and accommodations. I think as we age, that's huge, because we have a 3-story house, and both of us are saying, oh, we love our house, but do we really want 3 stories now? We probably should look at some type of an apartment on 1 floor. Well, we haven't done it yet, but things like that, living accommodations as we age, things like that. Let me talk to Mary Angelo and see if she would like to, we could host it and keep it like to 10 people or something, or get some ideas. Maybe I'll ask her if she wants to do something like this. We'll get ideas from all of you. That sounds like a plan.
I think as the numbers get bigger for seniors and the age for seniors gets younger, because there'll be more information, but like you said, staying in your house.
Yeah.
So maybe it's not the problem of staying in your house, but the problem of having services that a handyman, a cleaning man,
Right.
you know, that you can come in, and that way it frees you up from worrying about living in my house that I like and being in my neighborhood that I enjoy. But you can't do it individually, so that's why I was saying, I think
Yeah, well,
the more you talk with
Yeah.
people.
let me talk to Mary Angelo, and if she thinks she could do a modification of whatever we were all talking about, and see if she wants to do a little round table, like maybe once a month or so. And that might be something that, yes,
How will you let us know?
pardon me?
How will you let us know?
Well, you signed up for this class, and I
She will
could,
contact.
yes, she will contact you. But I think that is really a good idea, because we can just do this round table and just talk about a topic. Could be housing. What are you doing? Are you living in a 3-story house, or are you living in an apartment?
Sounds good.
And there's so many options too, and that's the other thing. Because we are aging and we know it, Well, there's options. You just go online and look for a housing for older adults. You'll be inundated because people want something easier, safe, easy and safe. So there are things that we could look at, yes.
Another topic could be activities. They always say activities to keep you young, but instead of saying to keep you young, activities to keep you stable, I guess we say. I take the strong bones exercise class here just to make sure that my bones stay at least the way they are now
Right,
and
right.
it doesn't get worse. I take the yoga class just because, well, the yoga class, 'cause it's yoga done in a chair. I'm not getting down on the floor trying to do all those
Right,
poses
right.
and everything. And I feel like it's keeping me stable. At least my health is not really slipping. So that could be a topic, talking about activities that keep you stable or keep you from.
Well, she knows who was here, and so perhaps when I talk to her, she might ask for volunteers to start something. But let me talk to her for sure. I think it's a great suggestion. And it just opens your eyes and ears a little bit to say, well, I never thought of that. I never thought of that opportunity. Or of selling my house and moving into a condo or something. Yes?
I'd like to give a shout out to some of the classes that we have here. Now, every Monday at 12 o'clock, 12 to 2, there's a game class. Interesting word games, fun games, right here. I attend fairly religiously, and sometimes, a lot of times, most of the time, I'm the only one here. And so Mary Angela plays a game with me so that I didn't come in vain. But they're not stupid games, they're fun games, they're interesting. And just the ladies and one gentleman here in this room, it would be wonderful if you came on Mondays, 12 o'clock, for 2 hours, to play a game with me, with her, and anyone else that
I'm learning to
chooses.
play chess. I was learning to play chess. I'd never played chess
Yeah.
before. And that's a real good
Yeah,
brain
yesterday
exercise.
was Rummy Cub, and, we also played cricket, what is it?
I read about that, yeah, cricket.
So much fun
And
to
Scrabble.
play these games.
Advertising Scrabble
It keeps you young because it takes you back to when, it brings out your inner
It
child
does, it
to
does.
just play games. They're good games, and
If you need a nap, can you leave?
if you can do whatever you want. You can do whatever you want.
A little nap, maybe?
You are the
I'm just
captain
kidding.
of your own ship. You can do
Well, I
whatever
think
you
these
want.
are great
Yeah,
topics
I
and
think so,
suggestions.
too.
I'll talk to Mary Angelo and see where she wants to go. But like you said, you have the opportunities here, but they're not,
I don't understand. It's such a big mailing list of
I know.
people. We all get the newsletter. Why is it that so few, 1 or 2 people, that's it, are interested in playing good games? It's-
Usually I have found that there's decent turnouts for most of the offerings, in this, wherever it came from, the brochure.
Right.
I can't always do it, but when I do, it's interesting, and there's, like this, 8 to 12 people or so, that's good.
that is, yes.
This is a commercial break. The lady over here that talked about going to Strong Bones class, the instructor there, Joanne, she's a physical therapist, and she's done classes for, I don't know how many years, lots, probably 15 or something, for strengthening your bones and balance. So I had horrible balance. I got rejected for a Pilates class because they said I would hold it up. My balance was so bad.
It's not good.
Imagine them turning down money. So I saw Joanne's class. This is probably 10, 12 years ago now. She used to be here. She had her own studio for a while, and the pandemic erased that from life, and she's back here. But the classes are great, and after I took them and took them and took them and still take them and still do them at home all the time, I had my bone density measured. The last time it improved by 8%.
Wow.
The
that is
doctor wrote me a
significant.
letter about it because I do
Yeah.
this stuff faithfully. And so it does work, because a few
It
years
does.
back, I had to take prednisone for a while, which is bad on your bones. But, I mean, her classes are great, so if you need if you want an exercise class, and you won't feel stupid, or you won't feel like, oh, I can't do any of this or that, it's a do-it-your-own pace sort
Is
of
that
thing.
the stretching class?
She has something called Strong Bones. I don't know.
That's her, and she's been doing it for years.
Oh, and it's great,
It's
yeah.
a great
Yeah,
class.
it's totally great.
So it sounds also like perhaps you might be saying that they have the classes here, instead of doing that round table that we were talking, they have the classes, sometimes it's just not well received.
Well,
But that
Joanne's
sounds-
class, she'll have a lot of people in it,
Okay.
I guarantee you.
Yeah,
Very faithful followers in that. But it's worth looking into, especially as you get older, so that your bones are
it is.
well taken care of, and your balance is important, so you're not floundering and falling around and so forth. And you do have to get down on the floor
Yeah.
for some things, so it
Yes,
helps
you
you
do.
to do that, so you're
Yeah.
not afraid of the floor, and then you learn how to get up.
And then
They're
she-
not afraid of the floor,
And
that's
then
it.
she went to